All right, class. So today we're going to be focusing on what we started last class concerning the changing roles in the family. So these are the areas that we're going to be focusing on. So when we're looking at the changes of the roles in the family, meaning the changing roles and responsibilities of the men in the family and the women in the family, these points from A to E are the elements that have come together to create this change. Simply put, the status of women, the choice of employment, the technology that is available, leisure activities, and educational opportunities are all the factors which have led to the changes in the roles of men and women in the Caribbean family. So if you were to get a question like this in the examination, for you to examine factors which contribute to the changing roles and responsibilities of men and women in the family, these are the things that you must discuss. You must be discussing the change in the status of women, and we're going to start there. So for many centuries, in many cultures, even today, as we looked at in the video when we were discussing how women are now that they're in the workforce, that in some societies, women or girls are not educated because the society doesn't feel that it is a valuable investment to invest in a young girl because her role in their mind is in the home. That is where you're going to spend your life. Why do we need to send you to school for you to cook when you are home with your mother who doesn't have work or school? She can teach you how to cook. She can teach you how to clean. She can teach you how to take care of children. She can teach you how to take care of your husband. So we don't need to teach a young girl how to read and write and to educate her to go out into the world of work, right? So we looked at that concept when we were watching the videos last week. And we even looked at the fact that society socializes females to be a particular way, and they socialize males or young boys to behave in a particular way. And we gave the example of a little girl and a little boy playing, and how if a little girl falls, how the parents would react, and if a little boy falls, how the parents would react to the little boy falling. We even looked at one of your classmates who said his mother said she'd be proud if he said, listen, I have three girlfriends. But none of the ladies were in agreement or even thought for a second that if they went to their mother and said, hey, I have three boyfriends, aren't you proud of me? The parents, mother and father, brother, sister, everybody would have reacted very differently. And that is because a woman's role in many cultures to this day has been in the home, right? And that has been changing. So these constructs, meaning this setup, how things are, where a man is the head of the household and the woman is the subordinate, it is referred to as patriarchal. And we looked at this when we were defining the concepts of family. When we're looking at a patriarchal family or a patriarchal society, it is where a man and a man's view, a man's perspective, these are the dominant influences. So it's a man who rules in a patriarchal society. And to this day, you know, it can be proven that we are living in a patriarchal society. And that is seen in the fact that there are there are things that men are allowed to do that women are not allowed to do. So a man can have multiple girlfriends and, you know, he's praised. A woman has multiple boyfriends and she's going to be labeled, you know, derogatory and demeaning names. that is just one of the many examples of where men have the upper hand in many situations. You can even look at positions of management or positions of leadership. You will find that in many organizations, the leaders are male. But when you look at education, though, interestingly enough, when we're looking at education, many of the leaders in education are female. So many high schools, many primary schools, many kindergartens have female as their leaders. But what we'll look at later on is that there are what we call art subjects that we tend to push girls towards, and the technical subjects we tend to push boys towards those areas. So you will find the women thriving in some areas while we'll have men thriving in others. So what you're seeing in front of you is pretty much what we've been discussing. So inequality between the sexes and inherent, meaning it's there, it's set up where it's deep rooted in our society. So in inequality between the sexes and inherent sexual discrimination has also been a feature of much of our society for most of the Caribbean history. I'll adjust that. However, the last 50 years have seen dramatic changes in the way women have viewed themselves and have come to be viewed by society. The movement that seeks equality in opportunity for women and social equality and economic equality and equal political rights, this movement is known as feminism. The idea that women felt that they were dominated and denied certain rights and were not as free as men is perhaps expressed in the associated terms of women's liberation. So you're finding that society has started to rethink a woman's role in the society as just being that of homemaker, because of movements like feminism that focus on equal opportunity and equity, because equality means that we're on the same page, we're on the same level, right? Equity speaks to fairness. So you're not going to give somebody the job because they're male or female. You're going to give them the job because they are qualified. They are most qualified for the position. So the feminist movement focused on this. Listen, we are here and we are competent. And as a result of that, we are going to teach our young girls, we are going to push forward this idea that we can do whatever it is we set our minds to. It's reflected in the music. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Beyonce's song, Girls, that girls run the world. It may not be a factual statement, but it's becoming a reality where we actually have an option for that to even be a thought now, right? So you have female billionaires, we have female CEOs. So the status of women has started to change, partly because the culture, and we're going to look at this further, but the socialization process has changed in the family. So we're no longer saying to our little girls that, listen, you know, you need to get a few subjects just to be okay in life. No, we're pushing them that, listen, you can achieve anything. You're going to go to school, you're going to do the sciences, you're going to do whatever subject you choose to do. This is what we're going to focus on because you're capable of doing anything. That's the idea of liberation, a woman's liberation. You are free to express, you're free to achieve. So that's the idea of that movement, right? So the status of women has changed the role of members of the family, right? So the takeaway point from this section is that because the status of women has changed, from one where they belong to the home to one where they exist in leadership positions and they are thriving in all areas of society, government, entertainment, uh, finance, in the arts, education, in any facet of society that you can think of, women are now there, right? Even this year, we saw that we had the first female vice president in the history of the United States. So what you're finding is that young women have a different example. We no longer have to think, all right, we can get to point B, but we can't exactly ever acquire anything above that. So we can be in government, but we can never be president or vice president. Now we're seeing that a woman is vice president, and maybe in a few years, we may have our first female president. But the point is, we're seeing women in all areas of leadership. And because society is seeing this change, the status of women have been adjusted. So the changing role of women has changed the family, right? So status of women is another factor that has led to the changing roles of members of the family. So the woman isn't just in the home, she's in the home and she's at work. The man is in the home, he's at work. You have some instances where you know have stay-at-home dads because the female is earning that much more than he is. And so it is financially beneficial for him to stay home and take care of the children. This is happening in our society now. So because the status of women have changed, the family structure and the family dynamic and the roles that men play versus the roles that women play has also changed. And then we have education, as I mentioned before, because we are now in a position where we can enter into the world of work. Education is now becoming crucial for a woman's social mobility, and that looks at her ability to move from one class or one socioeconomic level, meaning say you're middle class, and with education you can transcend from middle to upper class. So that social mobility, right, is now possible, but it is through education, right? Even in education though, you'll find that female students have tended to favor, or better yet, have been encouraged to do soft subjects. So they do the English and the history and the social studies, right? And the English literature, the arts, while boys are more inclined to do physics, law, engineering, technical drawing. If you're supposed to go to some all-girls schools, you will see that you'll do home economics. That's a standard feature of the curriculum. While at a boys' school, you may not see a home ec class, but you will see a woodwork class or a TD class. And as society has evolved, you will have some schools though who will encourage students, or at least give students the options, boys to cook, girls to do woodwork, right? Some schools are venturing in that area, but education though, for the most part, has been one where girls do the arts and boys do the more technical subjects, because men are considered to be the ones with more logical minds and are therefore more logical thinkers. And so math and physics and engineering are the subjects that their brains are designed for, while for young girls, it's the reading and leisurely type of education that is best suited for us. That is still present in our society to this day. However, the fact that women even have an option to do the arts is still an advantage. It is still an advantage, and it is still one of the factors that have led to the change in dynamics of members of the family. So instead of one working parent, which would usually be the male, you now have male and females going out to work, right? And that is because of things like education, right? Another impact that education has had on the family is that there is a direct relation between the size of the family and the timing of the family, because people are thinking long terms in terms of academic achievement. So education has direct bearing on the size and timing of families, right? So it pretty much says that as opposed to having 6 children, a family will now maybe have 2 or 3 or 1, because they're thinking, all right, we have to go to work. For a woman, you can have 3 paid maternity leave. So after child number 3, if you have any more, you're going to have to cover that cost. Your job won't pay you for the 2 months, and the 3rd month you would have to foot that bill. Instead, you would have to cover the full 3 months that you have for maternity leave for your 4th child. So because of considerations like this, people will begin to have less children. You also have to think about, if the man and the woman are working, somebody has to take care of the children. And so as a result, you will see that families will choose to have children later in life. You know, so you'll hear people say, yeah, man, I'm going to have a child, but I need to make sure I get this degree from UWI or whichever college they choose to go to. I'm going to get this degree first and get myself settled in a job, and then we'll start to have a family. And usually when you have children later, you tend to have less children, especially for the woman. You know, a woman has childbearing age, right? Which means that there's a period in a woman's life where she is most fertile. And if you're getting married later in life and having children later in life because you have professional and academic aspirations, you're going to find that you have less children, right? So when we say the timing of families, families will delay having children so they can accomplish certain goals, to achieve certain ambitions, and the size of the family will also decrease. Also, not because of only the cost of it, but in the early ages, in years gone by, well, let me not get into agrarian societies, but families were an economic unit in a different way than they are now. So when we're looking at the role of the family and we say that the family is an economic unit, we're looking at the family taking care of itself. But in the 1920s, when we had families that were pretty much homegrown, meaning that you had children because you needed the children to work on the farms, or to work on the land. So you would have a big family because you would have pretty much free labor. So the more children you had is the more hands that you would have to help to take care of the animals, feed the animals, plants, food, reaping of the food. So they would have large families because it was needed for the family to survive. The more people you had working, is the more money that would be coming in, which would allow for the family to survive, right? So because that is no longer the case, where, you know, you have to farm, whether it be you grow plants or not grow plants, you grow your food, or you have to rear different animals and sell them and eat them as well to survive. You now have the option, and we're going to look at technology later on, where because things are automated and things of that nature, you will find that You don't need to have as many children to work on farms. So because of technology, and technology doesn't always mean internet, you'll find that you have, instead of using a shovel, you can use a, internet is dropping. All right, so instead of using a fork to dig up to dig the land to plant, you can have machines that you just sit on, and it just takes you across the land, and it softens the soil so you can be ready to just throw in the seeds and cover and start to plant and grow and go through that entire process. So you don't need to have 6 children, because now you have a machine that can do the work of 6, right? So because of that, you find that the size of the family will change. So many studies around the world show that educated women tend to start family later in life and have fewer children when they do. A woman may pursue a career of her own through which she hopes to attain a certain quality of life before she starts to have children. Choosing to have fewer children increases the likelihood that a woman will be able to return to work should she wish to or needs to. When we're looking at employment opportunities now, we now have secondary industries, and these are what we call the service industries, such as finance, insurance, tourism, technology. And because of their development, you've had more opportunity for women to enter the labor force. And why this is important, it is no longer a case where a woman has to go out in the fields or to do any hard labor, right? Because there are no service industries, you have more women who are able to go to work and can manage the nature of work that these industries would have given her the opportunity to participate in. So she doesn't have to go out and dig yard or build houses or to be doing any hard manual labor. The jobs now can be based on intellect, on speech, on presentation, on leadership. So because of that, more women are able to enter the labor force. And as I mentioned a few slides back, because of technology, the extraordinary developments in technology in the last 60 years have influenced women to work in a number of ways. So women have more time for paid work, labor saving services such as automatic washing machines and microwave ovens reduce time spent on domestic chores, which may then be invested into paid employment. So you don't have to spend all day washing and cooking and cleaning. So you may, while you are washing, you can be cooking, you can leave something in the oven, and while it bakes and the machine is running, you can sweep the house, wipe the house, whatever it is. So things are being done simultaneously. So at the end of all of these chores, you get back to doing whatever work you have to do, right? So it's no longer an all day labor intensive kind of environment for the woman. All right, let's just go back. All right. So let me just adjust this. I'm having a little technical difficulty here. All right. All right, so sorry about that. So technology has opened up opportunities for women in the world of work that may have once required superior physical strength or have been deemed unsuitable for other reasons. They are now able to do these things, which is what I would have said in the previous slide. Automation and computerization means that many manufacturing processes can be carried out by either sex, male or female. And the growth of the secondary and tertiary industries has been accompanied by the development of supporting technologies, notably ICT. So because of the internet and the different ways that um, a person can contribute to the world of work, we have so many options. So it's not that you have to do anything labor intensive, meaning you have to do any physical lifting or anything that requires physical strength. A lot of things are automated. And as a result of that, a woman can work and take care of her children at the same time. Look at how the society has changed even within the last year because of COVID. So you have a lot of jobs or a lot of work from home programs. You have school from home, right? Which is what you're experiencing now, where a woman can work online and have her child just a footstep away. So as soon as she's finished working or teaching or whatever the case may be, whatever the means of employment is, she can go and tend to her child or children. So that is how technology has influenced the changing roles in the family. And in addition to making things less physically demanding, technology has also allowed ideas from outside the region to spread to a larger audience, right? So even the whole idea of feminism, it is because of technology why it's now such a widespread and accepted reality of our society. Female empowerment, you may have heard, it's woman's time now. You've heard of black girl magic. You've heard of girl power. All of these ideas are transmitted through social media, which is an example of technology spreading ideas. So everyone is not everyone. Many people are now introduced to the idea that, yeah, man, I can do everything I want to do. And even for men can say, listen, I don't have to do labor intensive work. I can use my mind. I can design. I can create. You have artists like Kanye West who are designers. There's nothing now that says, all right, because you're a man, you can't cook. And ironically, many chefs are men, right? So the idea that you can be a man who cooks, right? You can be a man who designs. You can be a man who you sing and you're expressive. You can be a poet. You can share your emotions, right? All of these ideas are shared through technology. Leisure activities. Women now have more time to enjoy leisure activities and as a result are far less likely to be confined to the household. All of this again, guys, all of these points that I have mentioned, they all feed into the other, meaning that technology can create leisure activities. So even if it is to sit back in your bedroom, right, and watch Netflix, that is a leisure activity that both men and women are able to appreciate, to enjoy, right? And that is because of the technology. And that is also as a result of the fact that technology has created things like washing machines, um, microwave ovens, electrical stoves, all of these things are there that makes the day-to-day activities of members of the family a little less demanding. And so there is time to do other things. The whole idea of the status of women in society has changed. And so as a result of technology, we're introduced to these ideas that we need to take time to take care of ourselves, right? Those are our messages that you're hearing even to this day, that we have to take care of ourselves. We can't work, 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 and work ourselves to the bone, and then we have no time to rest or enjoy the fruits of our labor, the money that we made from going to work. We can't enjoy it because, we have high blood pressure, or we had a heart attack because we overworked ourselves, and we can't do anything with the money that we earn because we are not well. So we understand that these ideas are shared through technology, right? They're shared because of changes in society. So when we're looking at the changing roles of members of the family, all of these factors feed into the other. So you can say technology influences leisure activities. You can say the technology impacted the views of women. You can say the status of women is why you have more women going out to be educated. Education changed the status of women. All of the points, if you're supposed to look at them, in explaining one point, you're going to start explaining another point. And that is how I want you to write your essays when you are required to do so in class and even in the exam. All of these factors are linked together. All of these factors influence the next. All right, so please take the time to go over the PowerPoint, and we will discuss it at a later date.